Well, welcome back to Daily Walk. Today is Tuesday. I hope that your day is starting off well. You know, the Bible says this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. We have much to rejoice in, don't we? The Bible says to rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice, to give him thanks. You know, I found that when you start out your day, one of the things that should be a practice and a priority is to give God praise for the things that he has done, the things that he has provided, to start your day out with gratitude and thanksgiving over complaining and murmuring. It'll make a big difference in your day. Well, here we are, Tuesday, and last time we were with the Apostle Peter, and he had just gone through an angelic prison break. Can you believe it? He's outside. He got outside the walls, and he finally realized that this was something the Lord had done. Well, the next step is he's going to go visit some of the believers that had been consistently praying for him in a house. And that's where we pick up today in Acts chapter 12. Look with me. It says Acts chapter 12, beginning in verse, here we are, 12. So when he, that is Peter, had considered this, that is, he considered and realized he had been brought out of the prison, he came to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered together and they were praying. Peter now makes his way, after he gets out of prison, he goes to the prayer meeting that was taking place at a home. People were just sitting there pleading with God, oh God, get Peter out of prison. Yes, Lord, do it, Lord. And just around the clock, they are interceding and praying. And so, can you imagine your prayer being answered this way? Well, look at their response. Verse 13, and Peter knocked, or as Peter knocked at the door of the gate, a girl named Rhoda came to answer. And when she recognized Peter's voice, because of her gladness, she didn't open the gate, but ran in and announced that Peter stood before the gate. Here's Peter. It's late at night, man. People are looking for him. He's one of the most wanted in Jerusalem. And he finally makes his way to the home fellowship and he's like, yo, let me in. And Rhoda's like, Peter, is that you? She recognizes his voice and she leaves him out there. She doesn't even open. She's so excited. She can't believe it. She runs in to tell everybody, our prayers have been answered. Peter's at the gate. You're never going to believe it. Look at what their response was. I love this. Verse 15, but they said to her, you are beside yourself. That's another way of saying, you're crazy. You're nuts. Yet she kept insisting that it was so. So they said, it is his angel. Now remember, these people have been praying for Peter to be released. And they're believing, God, you can do it. Oh, yes, Lord. And then God does it. They're like, that's crazy. That you don't know what you're talking about. That's an angel out there. That's not. But think about this. Even if it was his angel, do you think you'd want to go open the door? I would. I'd think, okay, what does that even mean? It's his angel. Anyways, look at what it says. Now, Peter continued knocking. I mean, now he's pounding. Let me in. It says, now when Peter continued knocking, and when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Why? Why would they be astonished? This is what they've been praying for. This is what they were interceding for. They were asking God to do a miracle. Can I just tell you something? In a strange way, this encourages me. And I'll explain why. It encourages me because sometimes I pray that same way. Oh, God, do it. Oh, Lord, come through. Oh, Lord, provide. And then all of a sudden it looks like God's going to do it. I'm like, that couldn't be the Lord. Well, you prayed about it. I know, but I just don't. I mean, aren't you glad that God answering our prayers isn't based upon your and my tremendous faith? You have so much faith. These people, they didn't even believe it. And there Peter shows up and they still didn't believe it until they went and they opened the door and they realized it's Peter, and they were astonished. This is the early church. This is the first century church. This is the church that's seen miracles. This is the church that saw Jesus ascend, and they still struggled in believing God to do the impossible. Is there anything you're praying about right now that is impossible for you? It's just beyond anything that you could accomplish. You can't strategize. You can't put together a plan on how you're going to bring this to pass. There's no email you could send. There's no phone call you could make. There's no text message that you could send to somebody else that's going to have this thing come through. And what's happened is, in the situation that you're in, it's so out of your control that, listen, only God himself is able to do it. And I find that sometimes that's exactly the way God likes it. When it is beyond my ability and I am completely dependent on the Lord. There's no way that I could do this. Lord, if you don't show up, nothing's going to happen. But we should pray, guys, we should pray believing. We should pray in faith, expecting God to answer. Now, whether he answers the way I want or the way that he intends according to his will, either way he's going to answer. But I should be praying in faith. Remember the disciples, at one point they came to Jesus and they said, Lord, teach us to pray. And Jesus gave them a model for prayer. And on another occasion, they said, Lord, would you increase our faith? And I find that, Lord, teach me to pray and increase my faith. Those two things go together, and it's important to implement those. These people were so astonished by what they saw. And sometimes I think we are also amazed when God actually does something that we prayed about. And sometimes I think we doubt just because we've had to wait so long. And we're not sure if this was our desire or was this actually God's desire. And sometimes you don't know. You just keep praying and trusting God. But know that he's faithful. So they open the door, and there's Peter on the other side, and they were astonished. But it says that after this, it says that he motioned to them with one hand, keep silent. And he declared to them how the Lord had brought him out of prison. And he said, go tell these things to James and to the brethren. And he departed and went to another place. Now, as soon as it was day, we're going to find that there was a stir among the soldiers about what became of Peter. And when Herod had searched for him and did not find him, he examined the guards and commanded that they be put to death. And then he went down to Judea, to Caesarea, and stayed there. Wow, the Lord got Peter out of prison. And the guards that fell asleep or didn't wake up and didn't know where he was and were held accountable, they were all put to death. Isn't it amazing that this story concludes with God taking what the enemy intended for evil and using it for good, defeating the plans of the enemy? Friends, the Bible does say that we have an adversary and he has weapons that are formed against us, but they shall not prosper, because God will raise up a standard against the enemy when he comes in like a flood. Take courage in that today on this Tuesday. God bless you. See you tomorrow.